Of course, we look to other news making headlines. We go back to one of our leading stories now, where Eastern Cape Health MEC Sindiswa Gomba has been implicated in a 10 million rand fraud case relating to the funeral of Nelson Mandela. Another 4 former senior officials from the Buffalo City Metro and her co-accused are also in the firing line there. Joining me to tell us more is Sipho Ngwema, spokesperson for the National Prosecuting Authority. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. Let's talk about some of the charges that come with this matter. What exactly is the charges and what do they stand accused of?
In fact, the charges are corruption, money laundering, fraud, and contravention of the Municipal Finance and Management Act. These charges stem from a scheme that we believe was hatched by the officials who worked with councillors as well in the municipality, working with other people, business owners, and other legal entities that then swindled money from the council around Nelson Mandela's funeral. And all those things were done illegally and intentionally to defraud the municipality.
We're looking at 10 million rand that was siphoned from the Buffalo City municipality by, of course, flouting tender processes during that funeral in 2013. Give us a breakdown of how the monies were moved as you were looking and probing this matter.
Basically, what happened is that there's a company that they facilitated many of the accused, in fact, if not all of them. The company then would distribute the money to various entities. Of course, there was an instruction from government that the money could only be used for transport and venue around the commemoration of the late President Mandela's funeral. However, then the money was used for many other things that were not meant for that, but also it was used for gratification of officials in the council who were part of this scheme. So the money went to various entities, about 4 companies, and some of the owners and directors and trustees in those companies are also accused, but also they were working with officials who were then floating the rules in terms of the tender in the council, working with councillors who were putting pressure on officials, but also using their clout in the processes of the council to make sure that 10 million rand is approved and is directed to the companies that they are approved outside the legitimate processes of the council.
Eastern Cape Health MEC Sindiswa Gomba is central in this matter. She's been implicated in this case relating to this matter that we're speaking of. But we know that it's not the first time that she's been alleged to be on the wrong side of the law. Exactly how did she use her abuse of power and influence to land in such a situation?
At the time, she and others were members of the council. They were councillors. Others were deputy mayor, but they occupied senior positions in the council. They were very powerful in terms of making sure that the amount is approved by the council. And that amount, then working with some of the officials, they made sure that the money went into the entity that I mentioned earlier, which was set up in order. The name of that entity is Victory Ticket, which then distributed the money to various entities that then were beneficiaries through laundering that money. It landed up in those various accounts. So their powerful positions in the council as councillors, making sure that even the reports that were given after the fact, they were manufactured in order to suit a particular narrative that services were rendered, even though services were not rendered. So they used their power as councillors to make sure that that process favored that particular company and what had been done, even though it was fraudulent, even though it was unlawful, because those things did not happen.
We know that this matter, of course, is a 7-year-old case, and to my understanding, at some point during that period, it was provisionally withdrawn by the NPA. What were some of the reasons for those hiccups?
Yes, indeed. In May 2019, the matter was withdrawn because at the time, the NPA had just concluded a plea and sentence agreement with one of the key players in the scheme, which is the owner of the company I mentioned earlier, Victory Ticket. Mzwandile Sokwali, who is the owner of that company, then entered into a plea bargain with the state and undertook to assist the state in getting more information. So we had to make sure that.
Okay, I think we may have lost spokesperson for the National Prosecuting Authority, Sipho Ngwema, who's talking to us about the Eastern Cape Health MEC Sindiswa Gomba, who's now been implicated in a 10 million rand fraud case relating to the funeral of Nelson Mandela, implicated along with 4 other former senior officials from the Buffalo City Metro.